What is up, my lovely YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then it's just welcome to my channel, and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless of course your taste level is lacking. And if that's the case, please, you must stop by my last video and hear the remedies, because there are options for you. You do not have to live a life with a bad taste level, I promise. Before we get started, really quickly, y'all, last video I showed bookmarks that were sent to me. Thank you again. And I promise you, that same day I went and opened up more packages that I received, and I felt so bad because someone else had sent me bookmarks, and I'm like, dang, not me shouting out one's bookmarks and not the others. And these are so cute. Her name is Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. And she used a paper craft process called quilling. I have never heard of this before. So there's one that's like moon and stars, which is really cute, and then it's a cactus with sand and clouds with rain, and I just think these are so cute. Oh my goodness. And they're handmade, so thank you, girl. She also sent me the sweetest letter. I love when y'all send me stuff. This bracelet was actually sent to me too. Like, I believe it's handmade. Yeah, cute little handmade bracelet from Becca. Thank you too, girl. I gotta get better about showing y'all stuff and giving y'all thanks. And really quick before we get into today's case, books. I'm going to make a community post with all of my book recommendations. I get a lot of DMs asking me like, what was that book you talked about? And sometimes I see in the comments people asking like, does anybody remember that book? So for y'all girls, I'm going to make a community post tomorrow, and I'll put all the books I've talked about, a very short spoiler-free synopsis of what the book is about, and then I'll give them a rating, probably 1 to 5, 1 to 10. I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know how I like the book for my girlies who read and are interested. I did finish Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. First of all, everybody goes up for Freedom McFadden when Geneva is out here. Like, her writing style is so great. I absolutely love this book. And the thing is, I'm a person that thinks I'm really smart, right? I'm always trying to figure out what the ending is gonna be. I'm always guessing, thinking I know what's gonna happen, right? I'm that girl. This right here, I suspected everybody except, I promise, I never suspected. I don't want to give too much away. It was so well done. And when I thought about it, I was like, wait, I had the most subtle clues the whole time. This is one of my favorite books I read this year. Highly recommend it. And when I went down to Target and spent my money on this book, I had a feeling that it wasn't the wrong thing to do. This is really a good one. Very thrilling, start to finish. I was just talking to Kennedy this morning, True Crime Ken, and she said she read One of Us is Dead, and I'm contemplating reading One of Us is Dead or You Shouldn't Have Come Here next, but I do plan on reading every last book that Mama done wrote, okay? Every one. So there's that. And this book is what I'm on now. It's been lent to me by a friend, and child, this is mess, okay? I like a little bit of mess. Let me just let y'all know what's going on. Long story short, the main character has been single for 5 years because she lost the love of her life in a tragic car accident. Now she is ready to get back into the field and try to date. She meets a man. The man is perfect, okay? But off the book cover, no spoilers, their new relationship might be sabotaged before it has a chance by the overwhelming desire she feels every time she locks eyes with the one person who was most definitely off limits. His father. She got it bad for his daddy. This is my kind of mess. I've only read one chapter, like I said. My friend, she said it's really good. I'll let y'all know when I finish. But yeah, I'm gonna use this as like a palate cleanser in between my psychological thriller binge. And that is pretty much it for the book updates and everything I needed to talk to y'all about that is not in relation to the case we were talking about. This is another case that happened where someone was locked up in another country. It does have an episode on Locked Up Abroad, but I do have a bit more information than what they talked about in the show. So without further ado, let's get into that. And I'm about to get ready to go out with my friend, my really good friend. So we gotta look real cute or whatever. So today we'll be talking about a lady by the name of Latasha Madison. It is 1993 in LA, and Latasha is 18 with big dreams of becoming a dancer. Her style is hip-hop freestyle mixed with a little bit of her own little sauce that she has added into the mix. And Latasha is really good at dancing. Dancing is something that she's very passionate about, but it also serves as a distraction for all of the things that are not that great in life. And while waiting on her big break, she's had a couple of little breaks. She's been booked for quite a few jobs with rappers, singers, even gospel artists. So you know my girl has some diversity fluency in her dance moves. She's just waiting on that one big opportunity and that one big break that is going to catapult her career, push her to the next level. When the opportunity to go and do a 3.5-month job dancing in Thailand comes up, she is extremely excited. A former coworker of hers was initially given the opportunity, but that person was not able to just stop their life and travel to Bangkok for 3 months and recommended Latasha to take her place. It is 3.5 months worth of guaranteed work, all expenses paid. She be traveling with another dancer. So traveling with this young lady makes her feel a lot more comfortable about the process. It is a 20-hour flight, but they finally touched down in Bangkok and it is very surreal. Latasha has never been out of the US before. Once they get settled into the hotel room, they go and check out the space where they'll be dancing, and it looks a little shaky, a little shifty. And Latasha's like, what kind of dancing did they bring us here to do, girl? Because I'm not doing anything strange for, a piece of change. But she is reassured that it is legit and it is not as shifty as the area looks. And the girls are due to start work literally right away. The night after their arrival is their first night. They get on stage and they are both very excited. She and her dance partner are a hit with the crowd. She gets off the stage and they are cheering them on. She really feels like this is it. Like, I'm about to go to the next level with this dancing thing. After their performance, they go over to the bar and have a drink together when 2 men approach them and introduce themselves. And these 2 men are very well dressed. They're obviously a bit older than she and her dance partner, and they just look like money. They look like they got it all. They tell the ladies that they are from Paris and they're just there on business, and they tell them that they did a great job on the stage. Of course, Latasha tells them she had just arrived there the night before from LA, and it's a very brief conversation. The guys don't hold them long, but one of them, Philip, does leave his number with Latasha before making his exit. And Latasha did find him attractive, so she does reach out to him later, and the 2 of them make dinner plans. During their dinner date, Philip tells Latasha that he works for his father's oil company, and while it's not his personal dream, he does make a lot of money and it allows him the opportunity to travel and see the world. And he asks a lot of questions about Latasha's life back in LA, what her plans are, what her family structure is like, just literally all of the things that she could have going on in life. And this makes Latasha feels like he's very interested in her. She tells him how she does not have a relationship with her biological father, and she does have a relationship with her mother. It's okay, could be better. But unfortunately, her relationship with her stepfather is very strained, which overflows into her relationship with her mother. She then goes on to tell him how she has big dreams of becoming a dancer, the work that she has done, and how Thailand is just the start. And Philip commends her on getting out into the world so young. To be doing a job over in Thailand at 18, like, you are really taking control of your life. You really have the things going on and you're very mature, so she should be very proud of herself. He also tells Latasha that there is something very special about her that he can see, and he just knows that she'll go far, probably farther than her little 18-year-old brain can even imagine at this stage in life. And this really hypes her up. She's like, okay, you see it for me. After their initial date, the 2 of them are spending a lot of time together. Every other day, Philip is picking her up, taking her somewhere new and showing her something that she had never experienced before. And every other night he is at the club watching her performance and cheering her on from the audience like he is her personal #1 fan. They spend the entire 3.5 months that she is in Thailand together. It's given couple. However, during this time, aside from one little kiss that they have shared, there has not been any kind of intimacy between them. Philip has not tried to make any kind of move on her, and she kind of likes that he is being respectful or trying to be a gentleman and take things slowly. When her 3-month work visa is up, it is time for her to get out of Thailand, return to the US, and it is a very sad time for her because she has really grown fond of Philip as he has grown fond of her. She's really sad about splitting up from him, and he expresses these same sentiments to her and asks if she'd be willing to come visit him in Paris. And she was like, of course. She is excited at the thought. I mean, it's Paris, right? He tells her that they will keep in regular communication. They'll keep in touch over the phone. And although she agrees, she does not expect him to keep this promise. She actually did not believe that she would ever see him again once she got on that plane. So she goes home not expecting anything to transpire because she doesn't want to get her hopes up that this will flourish into something more. Back in LA, she's working a pretty stable job. She's making money, but it's not enough money. She does not have a place to stay. So she is sleeping on different friends' couches. Sometimes she's sleeping in her car. The money that she has saved from the job over in Thailand, it is running out and the struggle is very real. She has not heard anything from Philip, which is not a shocker to her at all. She had prepared herself for that. But one evening, her beeper buzzes and it is a message from her sister. Philip had called the house looking for her, and this comes as a surprise to her. He did leave a phone number for her to call him back, so she makes her way to the payphone to call him in. Philip answers and sounds extremely happy to hear from her. He's calling because he wants her to come see him in Paris as soon as she is available. And she of course wants to go to Paris, but mama ain't got no money, okay? She lets him know that, like, I would love to come see you, but I don't have the funds. And him being the son of this oil company owner, he got all the funds. So he offers to pay for her expenses. He'll get her a flight right now if she wants to come. She just needs to get herself to the airport. And he also tells her that he wants her to come back to Bangkok, where he still is, and then the two of them will catch a flight together to Paris. And Paris is where all his people are, okay? His mom, his dad, his sisters, his brother. He is ready for her to meet the family. Latasha is sleeping in her car. She's like, you know what? I could take a break from this struggle over here in LA. So she is all for it. She eagerly agrees. And when she lands at the Bangkok airport, there he is smiling like the Cheshire Cat, arms out for a hug. They'll be spending a few days in Bangkok before they go to Paris. So he takes her to the hotel they're staying in so she can settle in, feeds her well. And this night in the hotel is the first night that they actually do the do. And the way it goes kind of takes Latasha by surprise because it wasn't romantic. It wasn't like passionate and loving and sensual. None of the things. It was rough and personal, and she just felt like a prop. But that's how some men hunch. So she didn't really hold it against him like that. Like, that could be fixed, right? The following morning, she wakes up. She can hear him on the phone speaking an unfamiliar language. And he offers her the phone and tells her it is the sister that she'll be meeting once they arrive in Paris. So she talks to the sister. They have a cute conversation. Sister sounds real nice, real eager to meet her. She tells Latasha how fondly the brother speaks of her. And Latasha, over the course of the days they spend in Bangkok, speaks with several of his family members, which really eases her mind about meeting them because she had been real nervous about meeting the family. But talking to them first and hear how nice they are really makes her feel better. The morning comes that they are to fly to Paris. And again, Latasha is awakened by the sound of Philip speaking very loudly on the phone, again in his native tongue. And even though she cannot understand exactly what the nature of the conversation is, she can tell by the tone of his voice that it is not good. So after the call wraps, she asks him if everything is okay, and he tells her no, that he had just gotten the news that a good close friend of his in another country, not in Paris nor Bangkok, is very ill. The friend is very dear to him, but unfortunately they don't think he's gonna make it, and he would like to go visit his friend before he goes home to Paris. So he tells her that he wants her to go ahead and fly to Paris, and he'll go see his friend and catch up with her later. It'll only be a few days. Now, Latasha is uncomfortable with this, okay? I don't know your family like that. She is not comfortable with this plan at all. She has never been to Paris. Like, girl, I'm just now getting out of the country. This is a bit to ask me to go by myself to Paris. But he tries to assure her that she'll be fine, that his brother and his sister are picking her up from the airport. She will not for a second be alone to figure things out by herself. Like, that's not at all the case. But no matter what he says, she's still very uncomfortable, and she is expressing that. And this starts to irritate Philip. He tells her that it is basically not up for discussion. He wasn't asking her. He starts to raise his voice, which is something he had not done up until that point. And it was basically like, look, this is my dime, so you're moving on my time. If I say you're flying today, you're flying today. And then he reverts back to his calm demeanor and is like, you know, everything will be okay. I'll be there in no time and you'll be fine. Now, even though at this point she's 19, she didn't have a birthday since she seen him last, she is trying to be the mature woman that he saw in her when they first met. She doesn't want to sound like she is whining or like she's ungrateful. She wants to give mature woman. So she stops complaining and she just says, okay. So once it is established and everyone is on board for her to fly to Paris by herself, Philip takes a look at her suitcase and makes a comment about how bulky it is. He's unzipping it. He's looking at her things that are just kind of thrown into the suitcase. And he's like, what is this? Like, this is not the proper way to pack. And he tells her he's going to repack her bag because this right here is just a mess. He removes everything out of her suitcase and he is neatly folding it, putting all of the things back in. And before he gets everything back into it, he tells her that she could use some more space. So he grabs one of his bags, which is like a smaller duffel bag, and he puts it on the bed and starts putting the rest of her things into the bag and tells her, like, you can borrow my luggage. It's fine. And she is like, no, everything can fit. But for some reason, he is insisting that she use 2 bags instead of just the one. So again, she just goes with it. Once her bags are all packed up and she is ready to go, he seems to be in good spirits. So she just tries to do her best and reciprocate his energy. They arrive at the airport. She gets out and is given her ticket, and the driver gets her suitcase. And she is expecting Philip to at least walk her into the airport, but he does not. He just looks at her and tells her that he'll be in Paris as soon as possible. And she does not at all like the fact that he won't even walk her into the airport, but she decides not to complain. At first, going from sleeping in her car with just a few coins in her pocket to being on an all expense paid trip to Bangkok and then Paris with a love interest sounded like a dream. But y'all, now that she is in it, not so much. At this point, she is very irritated, but decides to just go along and go through the motions. I mean, she is on her way to Paris, right? Now, before she reaches the baggage check area, something tells her to look at her ticket. And she notices that the destination on the ticket that Philip had handed her was not Paris. She is instead showing a destination to what was at the time the country of Czechoslovakia. Now, it has since been split into 2 states, Czech Republic and Slovakia, but at the time there were one, okay? And this does stand out to her. It's kind of a red flag. She's like, what is this? Way too many words for Paris, okay? Paris is only 5 letters. Something told her to look at that ticket, and something now is telling her that this destination on the ticket does not feel right. But she figures that maybe it's just a layover. And maybe when she gets to that layover, she'd be printing a new ticket for her final destination. You know, the second leg of the flight. She hadn't done this often, so this kind of made sense to her. Besides, why would Philip send her somewhere foreign and unknown instead of where he told her he was sending her? It just didn't make sense. So she continues on to go check her bags, and within 5 minutes of her checking her bags, airport security comes and taps her on the shoulder. They tell her to come along with them. She's not sure what's going on, but she follows them to the back because she couldn't say no. And when she gets there, on the table is that duffel bag that Philip had given her. They ask her if this bag is hers, and she says yes. But she figures, what's the point in lying when the airport has cameras everywhere? One of the men begins to take everything out of the bag. Shoes, a couple toiletry items, a couple items of clothing, nothing out of the ordinary. The bag is empty. It's just her things on the table, and she is like, okay, what's the problem? Well, Mr. Security Guard takes out a box cutter and starts to cut the lining of the bag, and she's freaking out because, baby, I borrowed this bag and I'm not sure how much it costs. Like, please don't destroy it. But when he pulls out this package that is wrapped very tightly with tape, all she can do is stare at it for a couple of moments because, girl, where did that come from? She tells him, this is not mine. I don't know what that is. It does not belong to me. As a matter of fact, this bag does not belong to me. I borrowed it from this guy named Philip. But they're not trying to hear any of the things that she has to say. At this point, she still is not realizing what is happening to her. She is thinking Philip picked up this particular bag by mistake. He may not even know that this was in the lining of the bag. She is begging to be allowed to call him. Baby, Philip ain't picking up that phone. He then takes the blade and cuts the package open, and inside, drugs, child. They test them just to be sure. Positively drugs. Latasha is charged with possession of 2.4 kilos of heroin and sent to Thailand's worst prison for women, Lard Yao. And unfortunately for her, Thailand does not play when it comes to their drug laws. So she is facing up to life in prison. Unsurprisingly, most of the people inside of the jail, the inmates, the guards, they all speak Thai. The cell she is taken to is this huge room that has no beds. It's just a bunch of women in there that are locked up, some of whom are staring at her while they're talking, so it's very obvious to her that they're talking about her, but she cannot tell what's being said. And as she is looking around the room, there is a white woman that is there, and she motions for Latasha to come over. She introduces herself as Sandra and says that she is there from Britain and she is locked up for drugs as well, but she encourages or advises Latasha to keep as much of her story to herself. Like, when people get to asking you your business, do not be so eager to just tell them everything. And Sandra really lays down the law of the prison land for Latasha. She warns her who to watch out for specifically, especially one of the guards who is referred to as Little Hitler. She's short, but she is a brutal little guard. Mean all the time. And she tells her, you don't know who you can trust in here, so just keep that in mind. That first night is very intense, very tough for Latasha. But she is still believing in her heart that everything is going to be sorted out, that this is all one big misunderstanding. When Philip realizes that she did not make that connecting flight to Paris to meet up with his siblings, he'd look for her. He retraced her steps and learned that she has been wrongfully jailed. He'd find out about these drugs and he'd let them know that the bag actually belonged to him, and she would then get her little things and walk free. Now, day 2 of her prison life, she is out on the yard with her girl Sandra when a group of Nigerian women approach them and ask if they can show her something. And she is keeping in mind what Sandra told her. You can't trust everybody. Girl, what are you trying to show me? But the women don't come off as threatening, so she says yes with skepticism. One of the women pulls out 2 crinkly photos of one man and asks her if she knows him. And the photos are of Philip. The woman then tells Latasha that Philip is not whomever he is presenting himself to be. He is, in fact, a big-time drug dealer. And when he needs to get a large shipment through the airport, he uses decoys to take a smaller package into the airport that airport security has already been tipped off about, and they are all in cahoots. So essentially, she was just a sacrificial lamb that he used to appease the authorities for turning a blind eye and allowing him to get on the plane with a much larger package. Now, she starts to think back about everything that had transpired, all of the things that stood out to her in real time, along with the things that are standing out to her now. She had been arrested within minutes of checking that bag. They were already waiting for her. It all makes sense. And Philip wasn't asking her a bunch of questions in the beginning because he really wanted to get to know her. He was vetting her. He likely figured she wasn't doing much in her life and had no one that will come look for her. So why not use her as the decoy? At this point, Latasha realizes that she is not going home anytime soon, if ever. So she decides to figure out her little prison life and how to get settled in and comfortable for the time being. As comfortable as she could get being in a Thai prison. And then things go from bad as hell to worse. So Latasha gets very sick. Just a couple of days into being there, she is very ill. She can't keep anything down. She's very weak. And finally, she is allowed to make a trip to the infirmary to get checked out. As if things could not possibly get worse, Latasha finds out that she is pregnant. Pregnant, okay? Now, the prison had a different area for pregnant women to shower away from everybody else. It's a very exclusive little showering space. One day she is in there taking her showers there, and it's very early in her pregnancy, so she's not really showing. And as she is showering, she is approached by Little Hitler, the meanest guard in the whole prison, and she walks right up on Latasha and whacks her across the back, okay, with her baton, telling her that this is not the space for you. It's for pregnant women only, and there's a language barrier. She is trying to tell her, like, I am pregnant. Finally, some other women come and rush to her aid and confirm, like, the woman is pregnant. Stop hitting her. Child would have stuck my stomach out so fast. Hit me, baby, one more time. I'm just playing, y'all. Luckily for her, the baby was completely unharmed during the event. Her being pregnant in jail just adds a whole new level of fear and stress, because who wants to have a baby in jail? Furthermore, Thai prisons don't give you like any type of follow-up appointments. I don't know if any of the prisons do, but you don't have any of the regular appointments during your pregnancy. No listening for the heartbeat, no ultrasound, none of the things. So you just have to hope that your baby is growing and it's healthy. 6 months go by with Latasha still waiting on her day in court, and it looks like mama might have her day in the delivery room before then, assuming that there would be. The day she goes into labor, she is taken into this empty room with just a bed, and she is left there alone. She is walking around the room pacing, being forced to just endure her labor pains. They offer her no pain medication, no rub on the back, not any kind of comfort. She is just there like a cat in a crate that is expected to know what to do. When the pain becomes its worst, she hears someone enter the room, and when she looks up, it is none other than little Hitler. Like, of all the people, at this point, I would have just knocked my head up against the wall, girl, and just knocked myself out, and hopefully just wake up to the baby in my arms, girl. But to her surprise, little Hitler comes in and rubs her back and is consoling her, showing her compassion, attempting to comfort her. She's telling her it's gonna be okay. You'll be all right. You're strong. You can do this. And little Hitler stays there comforting her until the nurses come in ready to deliver the baby. Her baby is born healthy. It is a boy, and she names him Angel. Her entire pregnancy, she had been worried and stressed out and afraid of giving birth to a baby that belongs to Philip. But she is quite relieved when she takes a look at that baby, and he looks just like her ex-boyfriend that she had seen before she left for Bangkok to see Philip. The relief is overwhelming. Can you imagine? Having her baby there with her in prison made it feel not as bad. She actually said that it made her feel like she was free. He was a distraction from everything around them. Of course, being in an all-women's prison, the girls are gonna fall in line, okay? The village will form. So she has the help of everyone else. But of course, her impending trial date is still looming over her head because she still does not know how long she'll be here. And she is also faced with the terrible reality that her son cannot stay in prison with her forever. In Thailand, they'll allow you to keep the baby for 12 months, and then you either find somewhere for the baby to go or they will find somewhere for your child to go. And Latasha is afraid that if she is found guilty, she may never see him again. Her lawyer has advised her to plead guilty because if she pled guilty, she will receive a lesser sentence than she would if she let the courts decide whether or not she was guilty. Because if they found her guilty, she is facing life. But Latasha does not at all feel comfortable pleading guilty to something she did not do. So when her day comes in court, she enters a plea of not guilty. And just like her lawyer had tried to warn her, they found her guilty anyway and sentenced her to life in prison. At this point, although she is enjoying having her baby in prison and it is a distraction, she feels like it's kind of selfish to keep him there. And it's probably in his best interest for her to go ahead and make arrangements for him. So she calls her mother, offering her guardianship of him. She flies to Thailand immediately to meet her new grandson and take him home. She knows that it was in the best interest of her child, but it still doesn't hurt any less. Sending her son off was very difficult, and after he is gone, she really struggles with depression. Some days she feels inspired by him to go on and keep pushing through, and she uses Angel as her North Star. But there are a lot of days that she feels like giving up, believing that her son would be perfectly fine without her, that if she just ended her life right there, he would still grow up with a loving mother, the same one she had. So she knows from firsthand experience that he'd be well taken care of, well loved and nurtured. So this is her back and forth mental battle on a daily basis. She also comes to the realization that if she is going to survive Lard Yao, she needs a distraction, something that keeps her mind and her body busy. So she uses art, dance, and fitness as ways to do so. 2 years in her sentence, she is teaching aerobics classes to the inmates. And soon after she started doing this, she was allowed by the prison to use this space near one of the factories in the prison to put on headphones and dance to actual music instead of her dancing to the music she had in her head, which is what she had been doing up until this point. And then other inmates form an actual band that performs. This little prison version of the Beatles, y'all, they perform concerts throughout the year. And for these performances, they solicit Latasha to put together their choreography. 8 years now into Latasha's sentence, the U.S. makes an agreement with Thailand, and it's a transfer treaty where prisoners that are U.S. citizens locked up currently in Thailand can apply for a transfer where they'll be returned home, but they would still have to serve out their sentence just in a U.S. prison. And luckily for Latasha, she is among those chosen to return to the U.S. The day that Latasha leaves the Thai prison is bittersweet. A lot more sweet than bitter. She has spent a little over 8 long years with all of these women. She has had her baby, had them be a part of that process. And she had really formed bonds with a lot of them. So it was really emotional for many of them when she leaves. They're happy for her, but also sad to see her go. And as she is leaving, they actually cheer for her and clap for her and the others that are returning to their home. Latasha is transferred directly into a U.S. prison where she serves an additional 4 months before she is released. February 21st of 2003, she is again a free woman, and she's reunited with her son. She goes to her mother's house the day of the release, and she had always thought of the moment she'd be reunited with Angel, how it can go a million different ways. It being emotional, tough, even if there's some resentment there, or if he feels like she's kind of a stranger. But he just runs in from outside and says, "Hey mom, let's go to the park." And her coming back home and into the fold of his little life is just as simple as that. Now, since then, she has found her life partner, and she has done work trying to help women or people, not just women, who are close to being released or newly released and are trying to, find their way, find their footing, merging back into society. She also does personal training. She still does dance classes and art, all of the things that brought her joy before. So yeah, that is the story of Latasha Madison, and how she got locked up in Bangkok and tricked by Philip, because that is not his actual name. Child. And the thing is, girl, never mind, I ain't gonna get into all of that. I'm just glad Miss Girl is home. And I want to know your thoughts. Let me know down below. I think the makeup came out cute enough or whatever to go out and look the part. I'm pleased. Y'all like the video before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. My finger itch, and it ain't dirty. Before y'all start. The two women get settled into their hotel room, and not the first night, and the girls are due to work, and the girls are Philip does let her know that he works. See, I'm competing with my son. But one evening, her buzzer beeper. Oh, I meant to put on my blush first. Jeez. And when she lands in Bangkok at the airport, and again, Latasha is awakened by the sound of almost Garden Patrick. Philip, after the call, she asks him if the friend is very dear to him. This is hotel. They ain't at a hotel, girl. They at the airport. Who is that even? She's just her. Hope that your baby is progressing healthily. Is healthily a word? So she uses art, dance, and fitness as a form to. This little Beatles version, this little prison version of the Beatles, y'all, they perform. The day that Latasha is sent to, I'm so glad to be done.